and welcome back to another episode of the Decatur Dish with Atlanta News First and our media partners at Decaturish. I am Maria Moreau, joined by the one and only Dan Wisenhunt. Dan, we, as always, like to come here every week to talk about what's been going on in DeKalb County. First order of business, Dan, I want to talk about Avondale Estates, who apparently is dealing with a major coyote problem.
They had an expert come in. It was an actual road runner. Came in. It was a professor. Michael's his name. He came in and explained that coyotes like to eat food, and so if there's ample food and shelter in your neighborhoods, coyotes will probably want to hang out there. So Avondale Estates has had some problems. Some pets are getting ate out there thanks to the coyotes. The methods that they're using have not been effective. So they're having a discussion. This comes up periodically in our communities as the seasons change. People start to notice more of these critters out and about. But Avondale Estates is the latest community to be plagued by coyotes, so they're having an in-depth, deep dive discussion about what they want to do about it. But the main thing is, if they've got a place to eat and a free place to stay, like any other creature on planet Earth, they're probably going to go there. If you gave me something to eat and a free place to stay, I'd probably be there as well.
As cute as they are, a very serious
they are very
problem.
Cute, but
it did remind me of, I don't know if you remember 2016, where there was a coyote sighting in Piedmont Park, and
Yes.
It was out of the usual coyote season, which I believe is early spring. So Avondale Estates, of course, dealing with that. I'm sure a lot of community members having very genuine concerns over their safety and the safety of their pets.
keep your kitties inside, y'all.
Yes.
That's the name of that tune.
All right, Dan, talk to me about what's been going on in Decatur here. We are officially now looking to see lower speed signs on some major streets. Those include Scott Boulevard, College Avenue, South Candler Street, Claremont Avenue, and a portion of Commerce Drive. This has been an ongoing discussion, but it sounds like City Commission finally did approve those reduced speed limits.
It's been talked about for a long time, Maria. There's a lot of attention in Decatur. It was a year or two ago we had a day where there were like 4 pedestrian crashes, one of them fatal. It was a remarkable day for all the wrong reasons, and it sparked this discussion about how can we take a community that frankly is already known for being pretty walkable and bikeable and make it safer for people who are doing those things. One of the more obvious solutions is just to lower the speed limit. We all drive too fast. I do it. Everybody else does it. We wouldn't do it if we were told not to, or we face some sort of fine for doing it. So that's what's happening. They're reducing the speed limits, hoping to improve pedestrian safety, because the studies show that the speed at which a car is going when they hit you has a huge difference on whether you survive a pedestrian crash or not. So that's really what's driving this. Of course, people who don't like speeding tickets, which is basically everyone, think it's just a municipal cash grab, and maybe they're right, but it also has the ancillary effect of making cars slow down and hopefully reducing the amount of fatal crashes that we see in Decatur. That is the intent. We will see what the data show after it's been implemented and after they've issued numerous tickets.
All right, let's talk about some changes coming to downtown Decatur. 2 hotels now on the market, presenting a rather unique redevelopment opportunity for a potential buyer. Dan, these are the properties that are along Church Street, so we're talking about the Super 8 and Decatur Inn hotels. It's the area that borders the Decatur Cemetery.
Great place to hide from the law if you ever need to do that. The hotels have seen some better days for sure. Same families owned it for a long time. They are older. I talked to the realtor. One of the things that he's hoping it will become is an assisted living home, and the property is marketed as having a beautiful view of the cemetery. So I don't know if that's like a cross-pollination thing they're going for there. But that is, assisted living home is certainly one of the possibilities. The other possibility is, of course, the ever-popular mixed use with apartments and retail, or who knows, maybe somebody could come in and just make it another nicer hotel. There actually is a demand for hotel space in the area, believe it or not, especially with all of our medical facilities. It's an intriguing property. It's not often you see something for less than 2 acres on the market for $10 million. I think it speaks to the current uncertainty in the economy that property has been marketed for as long as it has been. Nobody's wanting to take the plunge and buy that just yet. That's the story. We'll see what comes of it. Whatever it is, I'm 90% sure everyone will hate it because this is Decatur. Unless it's a Trader Joe's, in which case everyone will love it.
Well,
That's the only development we allow.
We're going to circle back to this story and see if you were right or wrong, because that is a
pretty
very
sure people
strong prediction.
Right.
All right, talk to me about this is also something that we brought up in previous episodes, and I want to revisit it because the Decatur School Board faced several questions last week from the community during a meeting regarding a new childhood learning center development. Dan, what's the concern that people are bringing forward?
The main issue is enrollment is down, and that's not a unique to Decatur thing. COVID really did a number on public education in this country. There are a lot of families that lost trust in public schools, and they are not going back. You combine that with the overall declining birth rate nationally, and it's going to lead to some enrollment drops. Decatur has more classrooms and more schools than it needs. Amidst that, they're talking about making a $30 million at least investment in creating a new early learning center, which is intended to alleviate overcrowding at the other early learning center. The school district believes that there is a significant demand for this, that moving it from the Fraser Center at the high school, the Fraser Center was established mainly to help unwed mothers back in the day they wanted them to keep going to school, so they created this daycare center, and then over the years it's also become a place where teachers can bring their kids. There's just not a lot of capacity for early learning in Decatur right now. This will create some of that. The real question that keeps coming up is why they're building it specifically on the property next to the Decatur Housing Authority when there are schools that they're probably going to have to close because they don't have enough students going to them. And the question becomes, well, why can't we, instead of building a whole new building for $30 million, why don't we just move them to one of the buildings that we already have? And then it becomes sort of an equity question because the DHA kids don't always have adequate transportation to the schools. You know, Westchester is not that close. It's a complex problem. It's a complex series of questions, but the Decatur School Board has signaled pretty affirmatively that this thing is getting built. And if there's one thing I know about the city of Atlanta, is that when people say something's going to get built, 9 times out of 10, that thing is getting built. So I do think that there will be an early childhood learning center built.
It's a matter of when.
Yeah, it's a matter of when. There will be one built within my lifetime that the board has, although I will say there are school board elections coming up this year, so that might become a topic of conversation. Who knows what people will say. And I'm curious if they'll get this done before the elections are wrapped up, because if they do, it doesn't really matter what the candidates say. If they don't, priorities could change. So we'll see where that lands.
Definitely a continued conversation.
Sure.
I know your team at Decatur-ish will stay on top of this, and we will here at Atlanta News First as well. All right, affordable housing. It is the conversation that keeps coming back up. Decatur's City Commission now looking into energy and sustainability updates and really just trying to hone in on solutions.
They also did a study on how to preserve what's called naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA is the acronym. That is the kind of housing that's affordable, but it's not subsidized by the government. And it is increasingly rare in the city of Decatur. You had the City Commission a while back approve an ordinance that allows for homes to be subdivided into duplexes and triplexes. Here to talk to us about affordable housing in Decatur in the city of Atlanta is Larry Padilla, the Executive Director of the Decatur Housing Authority.
We'll have him on after this short break.
Joining us today is our featured guest, Larry Padilla, the CEO of the Decatur Housing Authority. Larry, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. This is the first time we've actually met. I'm more familiar working with Doug Faust, who retired in November. I think he was at the DHA for a couple of decades, right? He was there for
12 years.
Yeah, he was there for a long time.
Correct.
Wanted to just ask you real quickly about your background, where you come from, and what brought you to Decatur.
Sure, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, via Puerto Rico as well. It was just a great opportunity. I was, before coming here, I was the regional vice president for the Caribbean, opening up the office for the Michael organization. It's one of the nation's largest affordable and mixed asset developers in the country, and was approached for this opportunity on several occasions. Finally decided to give it a go and meet the board, and I've been enamored with moving here and working with this great team and with the great city of Decatur ever since.
I was going to say, how is Decatur working out for you? You might have heard we have an affordable housing problem.
That's correct. I mean, it's not unique to Decatur. You know, it's a crisis that has been permeating throughout the entire country. You know, having worked in markets throughout the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, and the Caribbean, I can tell you there isn't any city or location I've been to where affordability or attainable housing is a challenge, is a crisis. I think the problem that I'm seeing is that we have consistent conversation on that and little to no action. So we're trying to reverse that trend. You know, many like-minded colleagues that are leading their particular organizations, both on the private and public side, very dedicated to making a dent at this crisis before it continues, as it continues to grow. I was going to say before, but it's just growing every day exponentially.
We talk a lot. We have talked about affordable housing pretty much since I started Decatur-ish over a decade ago. It's clearly a conversation that's not going away. Decatur Commission received a study recently about naturally occurring affordable housing. Have you had a chance to look at that yet, and what are your thoughts on it?
I have reviewed it. To me, that's why my focus is on what I call, and what's being dubbed around the country as attainable housing, right? It's really to attack that growing need within that middle-income working family. Those are the ones that get left out continuously every single day. The very low have a myriad of programs which we work with. Many of our communities deal with with those particular programs and that particular population. And obviously, those that are over a certain income, they don't have those challenges of making ends meet. Every day we continue not to address this need within this population, you're contributing to the issues such as homelessness and other displacement, or really, frankly, not being able to live, work, or play where you are and send your children to school where you live, right? That's a real issue. In my office, we have teammates that travel over 2 hours to get to work in the morning. They're at the office sometimes at 6 in the morning just to make sure they're skirting traffic, and they're there for a good 10 hours. We run a 4-hour day week. We're closed on Fridays. Many of us, like myself, work sometimes 7 days a week. But that's the reality, right? The reality is within our home. The reality is in the homes of many. Decatur has one of the most amazing and highly ranked school districts, not only in the Atlanta region, but in the state of Georgia. So families want to live there. People pay high taxes to live there to support the school district. So what do? We need to do more to make sure that our Decatur residents are able to remain there, not leave their dollars there, economic development, send their children to school there, and have a most robust and diverse community.
Has DHA taken a position on the Early Childhood Learning Center issue that has been discussed in ad nauseum in Decatur? Does DHA have any thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, we support it. Obviously, education is a very important part of our very significant hallmark of our organization. We run a significant after-school program that's results driven, and we partner with the Decatur School District to put that on with real teachers that come in and give of their time and after school. We acknowledge that there is a huge gap in early learning, right? And families that start off kindergarten without that access to early education come in with a significant gap in their learning skills, and sometimes you can't make that up over their lifetimes as a student. So we support it in that respect. And we understand why it needs to go there. It's the demographics of our communities in that area is to serve perhaps the most poor within the city of Decatur. So we're looking forward to continue to collaborate with them. It will go up on an old site that we previously owned. I have other ideas for it if we were doing it today, but it's a situation that both I and Dr. Whitaker inherited at the school district. So, we're trying to maximize what they have there, and to make sure that it addresses community needs. From our perspective, we want to make sure that our resident families take advantage of that, or are provided the access to take advantage of that. It's accessible, it's walking distance, and those are some of the hurdles and challenges that our families have in attending other areas that provide certain services, and also the cost, and they all have wait lists at the moment. So it's very challenging to get them in.
We talked at the top of this interview about housing affordability being a national problem, a crisis even. What are some things about housing affordability challenges that are unique to Atlanta and Decatur relative to other parts of the country?
I think it's not unique. Regulations, both federal and local regulations. Local regulations are usually more challenging to skirt around, and we understand why they're there. But the process of permitting and prolonged inspections, the bureaucracies. This is not a Decatur issue. This is not an Atlanta issue. This happens everywhere, right? So how do you claw that back a bit? One stat I like to share, which is from the National Home Builder Association, is that 43%, over 40% of all multifamily housing is attributed to regulatory cost. 43%. In a project that's averaging 30, 40 million, carve that out, slash it in half. How many more units can we produce with that amount of dollars, right? So that's a big challenge. To build single-family homes, it's over 20%, upwards of 25%. So the costs are staggering, and that's just in regulatory costs alone. We're not talking about bricks, mortar, labor, all of which are in shortage, all of which are being impacted by the current economic climate. So that continues to add costs that we just can't afford to have when we're trying to develop this housing.
Wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the Decatur Housing Authority, because it is an interesting facility. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you're new. I know you're kind of getting up to speed, but what can you tell us about the history of the DHA that you inherited?
Sure. I mean, it's founded in the 50s, like many local authorities. Authorities typically existed mainly to administer federal programming, mainly public housing. At Decatur, as with other housing authorities around the country, we've converted our entire portfolio. We don't have any public housing. We've converted into, for lack of a better term, for the layman out there, as private multifamily residences, right? Which we manage, which we own, manage, and maintain. Those are maintained through a diversity of subsidies which allow us to maintain these properties affordable. It also helps that we own the land, so we leverage those costs. We are tax exempt, so we're able to benefit from that cost that is eliminated, which also contributes heavily for the maintenance and affordability of affordable housing. It was once a housing authority that was combined with DeKalb County. We are both two entities now, but their executive director and CEO and myself meet regularly. Our goal is to collaborate more and more. We can be effective as individual entities, but together we can be a true force in making a dent at this affordability crisis. We have a certain tools in our tool bag, as I like to say. As with many authorities, we're able to incentivize taxes. We're able to issue bonds. We have certain access to subsidies that are crucial in creating these public-private partnerships that are so important to get these projects done and get families living there. And it's kind of taking advantage of it. So from an authority perspective, we, as others, have shifted from an administrator of federal programs to a real owner, developer, and operator of properties. And we're expanding into other areas. We have a very robust resident experience team providing services to our residents. Not directly, we coordinate heavily with our not-for-profit and for-profit partners in the community and beyond. We're self-sustaining. We actually offer consulting work to other public housing authorities that have that lack and that don't have that instrumentality within their operation. So we're able to provide our expertise and expand it that way. So we're super excited in the direction we're moving into.
Well, Larry, we're going to have to stick a pin in it and leave him there. Will you come back sometime and talk to us a little bit more about what you're going on?
Send me an invite.
Can you give me a real quick, how's the Housing Village project going at Legacy Park?
Legacy Park, that is a 132-unit development. 66 units are going to be ready to be leased up any day now. So have patience, everybody out there that submitted an application. And the other 66 units, phase 2, I think we should be ready for lease up in early spring. And that's anybody that takes a drive up there, you'll see it. It's a beautiful site, and we're looking forward to hosting our new families there.
Great. Thank you for that update. This is the Decatur Dish Show. We air every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. right here on Atlanta News First Plus. We hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. To check out episodes of this show, download the Atlanta News First app. To get all the latest news from DeKalb County, visit Decaturish.com. And to hear this show as a podcast, look for Decatur Dish wherever you stream your podcasts. See you next week.